Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Urban Legends video. Well, this is actually very fascinating to talk about, and the only reason is right now, at this very moment, going on this week and then probably for who knows how long, we have an urban legend in the making. And what's quite fascinating is to realize that pretty much up to, let's say, a week ago, nobody heard of this urban legend, and then just a few days back, it exploded everywhere. Goes to show the power of the internet and the power of social media, how when these things trend and it take on a life of its own, it goes completely everywhere. And of course, I'm talking about the urban legend in the making, now known as the Charlie Challenge. Those of you who follow anything on Facebook, anything on Twitter, any of the other social media outlets, you'll know exactly what I mean when you say it just exploded everywhere. You can't turn around without hearing about it, about forums about this Charlie Challenge, and then most importantly about videos proclaiming to show proof about this urban legend. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll talk about it here, and in fact I'm going to also talk about what it means and how you do it, only because even today, right now at this moment, I don't believe that this urban legend is true. I think that there's a lot of valid reasons that explain away the Charlie Challenge and why the pencils move all together, and I'll list those reasons, and I truly believe them in my case. But if you wanted to, still, you can practice it on your own. I don't really advise it, because who knows still at the end of the day what these things mean. But with regards to this challenge, in my opinion, is I still don't believe that it's true. But I will talk about the history, the brief history that it has, and let's see together how it came to pretty much take over the world. So what is the Charlie Challenge? Well, basically, it's a Bloody Mary of sorts, but in today's day and age. It's something that is taken over everywhere because it's so simple to do. Much like the Bloody Mary urban legend, where all you need is a mirror and darkness, here all you need is two pencils and a piece of paper. Obviously, with that being such a simple factor, so many people will be within easy grasp of doing this. And in essence, all it is just taking that piece of paper, making just a cross on it, essentially making the paper into 4 grids or 4 squares, and then on the top 2 squares you just write in 2 words, either yes, no, or no, yes, and then on the bottom 2 squares you write in the opposite. So again, either yes, no, or no, yes. You're just trying to make sure that each square is opposite of one another. And then you simply take those 2 pencils and then you make a cross out of them, and then that's it. All you do is just wait for something to happen. And how you have that happen is much like the Bloody Mary urban legend, where you state something into the mirror. In this case, you state something towards the pencils. And there are various ways, I guess, of the chance with the Charlie Challenge. I guess I'll go with the more common one, and that is the simple question, Charlie, are you here? And all it's supposed to expose is the pencil is going to move somehow, some way, the top pencil. So it'll either go towards the no response or it'll go towards the yes response, and then that's supposed to be proof that something is truly there. Now, where there's so many other factors coming into play as to why this is not going to work, I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. First, let's quickly go over the history of how this came to be. That in itself also has various answers. Apparently, this has been a schoolyard game of some sort in the Spanish-speaking world for a long time. There's a Yahoo Answers in Spanish called Yahoo Respuestas, which is a thread of some sort for kids. And some of the kids there have said that, yeah, they've played and heard about this game, classic game in Spain for generations, but they did it like in a different method. Like they would use crayons, or they would use pastels. They would play it, I guess, on the ground instead of using paper. It's just something where it took on several different forms over the years. Yet others have mentioned that it's simply a game that was created on its own. Like this was a game that uses, instead of 2, it uses 6 pencils, but only up until now, all of a sudden it uses 2 pencils, and that's where it took on its own variation. It's still it's hard to discern where exactly this comes from altogether because there's so little information. But I'm going with the fact that it probably was something in the Spanish-speaking world that had been around for a while. Just like anything involving Bloody Mary, it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly where it started, but it definitely has been around for quite some time. And then the reason why it suddenly took over, this is pretty interesting. Apparently in April, in the Dominican province of a place called Hato Mayor, there was a local TV news station that was broadcasting a report of some sort. It's one of those reports where it was probably done to try to garner attention. You know how whenever you turn on the 9 o'clock or the 10 o'clock news, there will always be some news feature that's like 5 or 6 minutes long that makes things seem like it's very, very alarming. And the whole purpose of it is to just try to get viewers to tag along for those 5 or 6 minutes, and then that's when the ads kick in, and then they make money off of it. Well, in this one, there was a report talking about a quote-unquote satanic game that was taking over some of the local schools there in Hato Mayor. And whenever that happened, some of the social media users there in the Dominican Republic, they started to tweet that response. And then somehow, some way, somebody started to tie the phrase Charlie Charlie with the Dominican Republic Twitter. And then that's where it took off on its own. There's even a case apparently of a 17-year-old girl somewhere here in the United States, in Central Georgia, where she's the one that actually first started the hashtag Charlie Charlie Challenge. And once others saw Charlie Charlie Challenge, that's when it took on the explosion that we see today. In fact, you'll see a picture of how these things trend. You'll see that from May 7th, May 10th, May 13th, May 18th, 21st, nothing. And then when you go towards a little bit before May 24th, it goes boom, all of a sudden to almost 1 million tweets per day with the hashtag Charlie Charlie Challenge. Again, it goes to show that if but for a week ago there was absolutely nothing to talk about here, and then now here we have a huge explosion of this. Now, as for the reasons as to why I think this is all nothing, that this is all fake, apparently when you take two pencils and you put them in the position like the Charlie Charlie Challenge recommends, then it's very little friction in the places where the pencils meet and the axis that it meets. And so all it takes is just a little bit of wind or a little bit of a push of some sort to make the pencil move. And so the reason why the Charlie Charlie Challenge works so well for so many people is because there's always a group of people around this paper and pencil. And so all the breathing, all the chanting, eventually there's going to be a little gust of wind that goes in the right direction, and that makes it move. So that seems to be, I've seen, the most valid reason for why this thing works. And then also another people have mentioned that with the pencil containing the materials inside it, they tend to be a little bit magnetic. Maybe people's jewelry, whatever they're wearing, other various forms of items that cause magnetism, they in turn help push the pencil. And then of course there's also the notion that it's just sudden movements. Anything involving people moving around, they cause the ground to move, which in turn moves the table, which in turn moves the pencils themselves. I can kind of see how there's so many physical factors that tie into making the pencils move altogether. Lastly, there's the valid reason that some people are stating where no, all of that is completely wrong. What it truly is something paranormal. That I don't know altogether. That's why the reason why the Charlie Charlie Challenge took on such a life of its own is because there's that supernatural factor where there you could actually be opening the doorway to something. Obviously, there's stuff like that tied to the Ouija board, and that I truly believe is something else different altogether. But with this, no, I don't think so. I think this is mainly along the lines of something where it's just there's so much stuff that can take away the reasons, the supernatural reasons why the pencils move, which is why I believe more along the lines that this is just something that people are doing just for fun altogether. By the way, those that still believe on the paranormal side and the supernatural side, once you get the pencils to move, you can begin asking questions because there's the idea that something is truly there with you, whatever this Charlie thing is. And when that happens, apparently this Charlie guy is somebody who is interested in making sure that he is talked to in a nice and I guess respectful manner, because every single question you have to ask is usually in the lines of may I or can I, something along those lines. And then also there's the idea that you always have to make sure that whenever you're about to leave, that you ask permission for the game to stop, because apparently if you don't, then you leave the door open, whatever that supernatural door open is, and then it stays there with you in your place. That's why people apparently can hear loud knocks from their walls, various items start falling from shelves. It's the usual crazy supernatural stuff that people see whenever there's like a poltergeist involved with their residence. So if you don't do it in a nice manner, in a respectful manner, and then also if you don't do this game where you ask permission for it to stop, then you're just leaving things open. So that's all if you believe again in the supernatural side of this game altogether. But otherwise, crazy, crazy stuff. It's fascinating to see. Absolutely an urban legend in the making. Has anyone else tried this Charlie Charlie challenge? It'd be fascinating to hear what kind of results people see. Do you believe that this is something that's totally explained to the physical elements like I was stating earlier, or do you believe the latter, where it's more supernatural, where it's more paranormal, much like the Ouija board? Please let me know. It'll be fascinating to hear all of the examples that people have. Of course, even to this day, there are still videos daily that are being posted on Twitter, on Vine, on YouTube, showcasing people's responses. It's fun. I mean, it's fun to watch. Some of that stuff, I mean, it looks unbelievable. I just still believe that it's a lot of science that can definitely explain the pencils moving altogether. So, all right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care.